Hey everyone, and welcome back to AgamidCG. I've been 3D printing with FDM for a while now, but I've seen some amazing things done with resin printing. So today, I'm unboxing the Elegoo Saturn 4 Ultra to give SLA printing a shot for myself. Today we're unboxing the Elegoo Saturn 4 Ultra and giving it its first test run. I'll walk you through what's in the box, how the setup went, and then we'll see how it performs on its very first print. Alright, first up, the packaging of the Saturn 4 Ultra is solid. There's lots of foam and cardboard, so everything's pretty well protected. Unlike my Prusa, which came with a ton of pieces to assemble, this resin printer is mostly put together right out of the box. It makes the setup so much easier. It's also surprisingly compact for an SLA printer. Oh, and keep an eye out for hidden compartments. There's a small box under the foam that could be very easy to miss if you're not looking closely and caught up in all the excitement.
Hidden inside here.
As I continued unboxing, I was pretty impressed with how well thought out everything was. The Saturn 4 Ultra comes with all of the essentials: gloves, masks, a metal scraper, a plastic scraper, and even a drip tray to make sure that things are clean, which is definitely important when you're resin printing. The build plate snapped into place really smoothly, and this model even has an auto leveling feature. It saves you from the tedious manual leveling that you have to do in older resin printers. There's also a USB drive included, but this is actually for installing Chitubox, which is a slicer software. It's a nice touch compared to my older Prusa, which doesn't have the option for wireless file transfers. No more loading files onto an SD card and then walking them over to the printer. Now it's time for the real test, printing something. I'm going to use a model from my Creating a Game Character from Scratch series posed in a dynamic battle stance. After setting everything up in Chitubox, I added supports, hollowed the model, and sliced it for printing. One of the cool features of the Saturn 4 Ultra is the built-in AI camera, which makes time lapses super easy. However, if you're still looking for a more detailed, high-quality footage, I'd still recommend using the DSLR. I also added a small non-UV light inside my grow tent setup so the camera could capture clearer footage. This is because it's a dark space inside, and the extra lighting made a pretty big difference. For cleaning and curing the prints, I picked up the Mercury cleaning station to make the whole process a lot easier. You can definitely do a DIY solution for this, but honestly, I got a little lazy and caved on the purchase. It saves me some time and hassle, and it doesn't actually fit a lot of bigger prints, so it might actually be better to make a DIY one, but for a lot of the smaller stuff, this is definitely a lot faster and way less hassle. Now, of course, no first print comes without its hiccups, and I definitely ran into a few along the way. Just a friendly reminder that if you're enjoying this video so far and you want to see more cool 3D printing projects, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps to make the channel grow and lets me know that you want to see more content like this. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. There's plenty more awesome stuff on the way. First off, resin printing comes with its own set of challenges that you don't typically face with FDM printing. You have to be very careful with the hazardous materials like the isopropyl alcohol and the resin. I make sure to wear a lab coat, respirator, mask, goggles, and nitro gloves whenever I'm handling resin or cleaning it up. And you definitely don't want to just pour any of the leftover chemicals down the drain. Even with the drip tray, spills and drips happen, especially when you're handling the prints. So gloves and ventilation are an absolute must. Speaking of ventilation, I tried keeping the printer by an open door, thinking that was going to be enough to get out the fumes, but it wasn't. I ended up moving the printer outside to my patio in a grow tent with a fan and carbon filter. This is the only way I was able to manage the fumes and the smell. This is especially so if you have anyone in your household that is sensitive to smells or any small animals that could be very toxic to them. So it's not ideal, but it works for now. I'm not quite sure what I'll do once winter hits, but I guess that means no resin printing for me during the Canadian winter. Yay, Canada. And one thing I learned the hard way is always double check for protective films. I missed a film on the vat which caused my first print to fail. I even scratched the PFA sheet and the build plate using my metal scraper to remove the cured resin. So lesson learned, make sure you look for and peel off all the protective films and use the plastic scraper first as much as you can. Lastly, resin prints can be fragile, especially with the smaller details. I accidentally ripped off some of the parts like the earrings and part of the skirt while removing the supports. So moving forward, I'll make sure to wait until all the curing is done before removing the supports for at least the small delicate areas. That way I avoid unnecessary damage to the print, especially if you're going to sand it anyways before painting it. So overall, my first experience with the Elegoo Saturn 4 Ultra was definitely a learning process, but I'm excited to dive deeper into resin printing. The printer itself is quite impressive, especially with the detail it can capture. but there are definitely some things that I'll be refining, like my setup and print settings. If you're thinking about getting into resin printing, be prepared for a bit of a learning curve, especially with managing the resin, fumes, and the cleaning process. But once you get the hang of it, the print quality is really next level. And before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. What is your most challenging part of resin printing that you've come across? Or if you're new to it, what's holding you back from trying it? Let me know in the comments below, and I read all of them, so I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more cool projects and 3D printing experiments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.